Join us for our second annual Women's Leadership Summit hosted by Girl Bossed Up. I am Dr. Melissa Simmons, inviting you to unlock your true leadership potential with a day of insights, inspiration, and actionable strategies. Experience empowering talks from our incredible speakers. Plus, enjoy pre-registration special and get your seat at the table. This is a summit of a community of dynamic women learning, growing, supporting, and empowering each other to our next level. Don't miss out. Register now and elevate your leadership skills. I'll see you there.
Hello. Welcome back, Fem Talk Nation. It is yet another Fem Talk Tuesday, and we are so glad that you are here. And as always, we have an amazing guest backstage. And we, as you know, if you've been following us for the last 2 weeks, we've been getting you ready and prepared in this new year. And today is no exception here on this January 23rd. So I am going to bring in Shima She Talks.
Hey, Fem Talkers.
Hello. And you must have your phone on. Turn your phone down.
I heard myself talking. I heard you talking.
Right. And there's always a delay. This is real life, everybody.
Exactly.
Fem Talk. All right. And Dr. Melissa will be joining us very shortly. But we have an amazing guest backstage. But you know how we start this show.
It's always
hot topic. So our hot topic for today is the interview on Club Shay Shay, his interview with Cat Williams. We want to know what you thought about this interview. If you had the opportunity to see it, if you haven't, go on YouTube, check it out. But we're just going to give you our tea on the interview.
What we liked, what we didn't like, and what we laughed about, because though it was a lot of tea, it was some funny tea.
Absolutely, it was funny tea. So Sheem, go ahead, start.
Oh my God, where do I start? I love that he was completely real. I felt like he was completely honest, and nobody was safe. Nobody was safe.
Yeah.
And I think beyond just telling what he knows from behind the scenes and how he interacts with so many different comedians, I love even though he was spilling the tea, he was paying homage to the ones who are gone and the ones who are still good, like who are great. If you were good, he mentioned it. If you were not good, he mentioned it. And I don't know, it was just so many. But he talked so vividly and I guess respectfully about Bernie Mac, and made you remember how Bernie Mac was and how how he used to rip those shows apart, how good a comedian he was.
Yeah.
But you kind of, I felt bad for him because I shouldn't have to come out and defend myself and all the allegations and all the accusations with people that I run with. That we in the same circle, we doing the same grind, we work together. I don't know. I think it just had me all over the place. I was like,
You know, I always look at both sides of the coin, right? When I'm
Right.
watching stuff, I always look at both sides. So I do agree with you, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that me personally, it felt real, right?
Yes.
For me personally. But I always look at the other side, right? There's always two sides to the story. And my great grandmother used to always say, there's your side, there's their
Yes.
side, and there's the right side.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, what that right side is, we personally don't know. Right.
Right.
So you always have to look at it from that perspective. We don't know the whole story, even though
Mm-hmm.
it felt very real, it felt very authentic, but we just don't know the whole story behind it. I will say, though, that, you know, people have not um, really tried to justify anything that has been said in this particular interview.
Right.
And I heard a mention before I actually watched his interview. I heard a mention on the Steve Harvey morning show, the radio show, about, you know, the fact that he did the interview and had so many things to say, but they didn't really go into it at
No.
all. So there
Me
was no one trying to justify one way or the other. And I look at that both ways, though. I will say this: I look at that two ways. Either it's not worth justifying because
right.
you know who you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or it may be way too embarrassing to try to justify all the
Exactly.
things that were said, right?
Or it may
Just don't
emit
know.
some kind of you take ownership to
Yeah.
some of the things that he said you did. The points where he was responding
Mm-hmm.
to comments from other people,
Mm-hmm.
that's when because I like you said, like you, I felt like he was being honest and true. So
Mm-hmm.
the point where he was responding to other people's comments and false stories and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, I felt like that was probably the most genuine. um Listen, I didn't bring this up. You brought it up, and I'm going to address it.
Right.
So it can be readdressed, but you
Yeah.
open the door.
Yeah, there's not a point in there though that I felt like it was unauthentic. Like there's
Me
not a
either.
point in
Not
there
one.
that I felt that way, right? Because again, this is my personal opinion on that. So I
Mm-hmm.
will just continue to preface my statements with that.
Right.
There was not a point where I felt like anything was unauthentic. Um, and you know, listen, we you hear stories all the time about the
Yeah.
entertainment industry. So it's no surprise if, you know, someone tried to take something from someone else, right? Because you hear
Exactly.
those type of stories all the time. But it doesn't make it right. It's not right, right?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Definitely makes it entertaining, does not make it right.
Exactly. So I know Dr. Melissa is itching right here to give her opinion. So before we introduce our guest, please, Dr. Melissa, tell us what you think.
Um, I thought it was good. I'm not a Cat Williams follower, and it gave me a lot more appreciation for him, his life story. You know, he hustled for everything he has,
Mhm.
and I got a good sense of that he seems like a real stand-up person.
Yes.
Um, it was clear whoever's in his corner, he is totally 100% behind them and support them.
Mhm.
The ones that's not, oh well. he went he went in on those that just he don't vibe with. But I think overall he was saying, you know, if you don't approach things with honesty, or you know, if you're gonna perpetrate, don't be around me because I'm gonna call it out.
Right.
So, you know, and
And
there've been
that he did.
that he did. And you know, and I know at some point we will talk about more people in entertainment, but I think one thing it does kind of highlight is don't do your dirt if you don't want nobody to talk about you.
Right.
Yeah.
And keep it
And don't expose mine.
Yeah.
Don't expose my dirt and think that we ain't gonna be in the dirty pool together.
together, you know, and you know, and I think that was the key, that there was so much dirt exposure going on. If I want to stay in the closet with my dirt, let me stay there.
Mhm.
Our next is going to show us how to declutter our own closets, but that is not your job.
Now I have a question for
Don't you
both of you.
declutter for me. That's right.
I have a question for both of you around that. When you watch, because it was an interview, so it's a different style, right, of TV. But when you watch it, did it remind you of like, okay, Real Housewives type of thing?
Yeah, they had that kind of tea, you know.
Yeah.
They had that kind of, you know, dropping. He was just
Right.
dropping stuff, and it was like, whoa, that is like deep and wide.
Right.
maybe a hinge, but it was more for me. It was more because I was personally involved in this particular situation. So I'm gonna tell you about it because
And
y'all know how my motto is: you can't tell a story about me better than me.
that's how it happens on those shows
Well, I
too when you
don't
think
know.
about it.
They
But
they go they they go get the bones that's not even in their own closet
I know.
and bring it back.
that is
He
true.
was throwing them out the closet. So.
Right. He
Very
was
much
like, I got
so. Very
these in
much.
here. I'm gonna share them with you because they in here. They
Very
cluttering my
much
own
so.
stuff.
Well,
Going
yes.
through those.
And I see this comment here. He's going through something. Hey, Jen, he's going through something. I'm scared for his safety because everyone can't be suspect and gay. He isn't telling the 100% truth. So, see, here's another take on it when you take a look at this. So, appreciate that comment, Jen, because that's just another look at it,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And who knows? Like, definitely scared for his safety because he brought out some other things that
Yeah.
you
I
know
was
when you start to talk about Illuminati and you start to talk about these lists that people are on and
Who's allowed
who's
in,
allowed
and
in and who's not.
you
Yeah,
know,
and
it's
the
a lot
fact
of
that he walks around and he's always carrying, and he openly said that.
yeah.
What makes you feel like you need to always carry?
but I like the other piece Jen, our super fan, said. She talked about the you
Everybody
know, I you have to be when certain people always talk about gay people.
gay,
It reminds me of some other people that always talk about gay people, and all of a sudden they turn out to be, they don't call themselves gay, but they
they're
introduce
experimenting.
yeah, experimenting or whatever they call it. And I agree, there's don't talk about my closet. Keep talk about
Don't
your
throw
closet.
the, don't throw the stones.
Don't throw it. Don't
Don't
throw
throw
it.
your
So
stone.
I agree. He did a little bit too much of that. Talk about who's gonna put on a dress next. All that dressing up.
Yeah.
You know, that's what Tyler Perry he says. So come on, stop it. Tyler making too many billions with Medea for anybody. Let him wear that dress then. If that's how he's doing fine wearing that dress. And so whatever. But
Yeah.
anyway.
So listen, here we go. Hello, hello, mom. All right. So listen, here we go. We have an amazing guest backstage. But you let us know what you thought about the interview. And if you have not seen it, go back and watch it. It's on YouTube. The full 3 hours of interview is right there on YouTube
Right.
for you to watch. So, so we
You
have
are
an
right,
amazing
Superfit Jen. I mean,
guest
Superfit Jen.
Girl,
backstage.
his hair a little better than mine.
Right.
I wonder what's under that hat now.
Oh my.
We gotta talk about this one more. This is too interesting.
All right. So we have an amazing guest backstage, everyone. And like I said, we are preparing you for 2024. We have the Monica Jenkins here to talk about decluttering your life. She has a book out, and I just want to tell you about Monica Jenkins. She is a speaker, a best-selling author of the book, The Cost of Clutter. Billion-dollar wisdom for culture, communities, and companies. She helps executives, leaders, and professionals have more peace of mind and clarity and direction both at work and at home. She has trained leadership teams in global corporations, faith-based organizations, and diverse communities. She is here to help you declutter right here on Fem Talk. She draws on her own personal experiences with racism, being let go from a job, and as an overwhelmed mother and wife, Monica offers a step-by-step guide to personal and professional transformation. She has so many other accolades, but we're going to let her talk about it as we bring her on the show. Hello, Monica.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. I was getting caught up in the conversation. So that we can, I mean, there was some decluttering that needed to happen there.
Yeah, right.
That's right. And
Well,
since you brought that up, let's
well,
talk about that.
yeah. So this is interesting because part of getting kicked off in the new year, in the new season, is part of the decluttering work is not only about the closet.
Mhm.
It's about what we watch. It's about what we read. It's about who we hang with. It's about about what we're eating, our diet. It's a lot of things.
Mhm.
And so this is really like why it's important now is because your future self needs you to kind of to do this work now.
That's right.
And um, I thought about that because we talk about vision a lot. So my book is The Cost of Clutter. My steps, I have a 6-step method that starts with vision, but the actual steps are each letter in the word vision. So each letter
Right.
stands for a step. And that is my that is what I use for my coaching and helping people through those closets.
I love
But
that. So,
but it starts with vision. It really starts with vision. And why I say this, and I know you guys are, I know you guys are people of vision. I know you coach it, you talk it. I know, boss lady, I know that's something that you do. I know you all done that. You do that work. And what I would say to you before we were even doing this kind of work. So let's talk about how we did the work. It's like when it started, when we started doing it, it was, you know, the boards and the cutting out, and we still do that. But I have to be honest, for me, it was an art project. It was. I did it. I had fun. We were hanging out with the girls. We had our little, you know, our little snacks and, you know, having a good time in different places. But if I go back to when I got fired, so that's really how this all started. When I got fired about a dozen or so years ago, I did not know what to do
Right.
with my life. Nobody was talking vision board. And you only
Right.
really heard that like vision, mission, all that stuff was very corporate-y things, right?
Right. Right.
But I heard the first time I really heard it was in a sermon, because we know vision comes, there's a biblical, couple of biblical scriptures
Yeah.
around it. But then
Right.
after I heard that, and the timing of when I heard that was when I was at my low, low, low. I
Yeah.
said, I said, I need a vision for myself. I need a vision for me personally, right? And so then I started researching the visions of companies. So like Amazon and Starbucks and reading what their visions were. And they're in my book as well. I kind of talk about this a little bit. And I said, imagine if I replaced that product with me.
Right.
You know, I think Amazon's one, imagine having something one click away. I'm, you know, sorry, Amazon, but it's something like that. So, you know, imagine if that was me, if I was you know, I had resources that you could just get one click away or, you know, whatever the case may be. So I just replaced, I said, no, I need this for me personally. And so from that point, I had to stop saying, why, God, did this firing happen at the most? Didn't see it coming. And a lot of us go through that. Like, I'm not the only one. But back then, I felt like I was the only one because
Right.
people were getting fired.
yeah.
You know, if they were, it meant something, right? It really meant something. So I was like, instead of saying why, I said, what's next? And that's what a vision will do for us, right?
Yes.
So I started thinking about, you know, in that time, sitting in that space, trying to figure it out. And I eventually met you guys, did some work on myself, right? And
Right.
kind of like, you know, do that deep dive, right? And, or the deep work, really, the really
Deep
deep
work.
work.
Yes.
I, yeah, I started getting some understanding about all of those things, all the clutter that kept me stuck from trying to like, I just got fired. Nobody gonna hire me. So my confidence was shot, self-worth, the I can't messages were just like, girl, what are you gonna do? People gonna be even, you know, even my friends who were, you know, that were there for me, still didn't know what to say to me because nobody had been in that place before.
Right.
And walk through that a little bit. Walk through how you decluttered your mind from those thoughts of feeling maybe a little unworthy because of what had just took place. Talk about how you started to declutter your mind first.
Yeah, absolutely. And the mental part is really important. So thank you, Tracy. I'm happy to do that. So one of the things I had did, I'm a writer. I journal. And the first thing I did is I wrote a letter to my former employer and didn't send it. I wrote it was like a 3-page letter. And I got that, I think, out of a workshop I went to.
Absolutely.
I can't really recall, but I got that out of a workshop that I went to. And I wrote a letter just thanking them for everything that happened. And doing that, I realized that this isn't my last.
That's right.
There is definitely something next for me. So that was the first step. And I wrote things down. I wrote down how I was feeling. And then I went through, so when you're, I went through the whole unemployment process, if you will. Every state has a labor department. And then when those things happen to you, you get connected to services. And so I said, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the thing. I'm gonna do whatever they put out for me. I'm just gonna do it. I just have no choice. And so I remember walking into a workshop and one of the facilitators said, what are you good at? When we were talking about rewriting resumes and relooking at other careers, like, what are you good at? And here's the thing, guys. This is where we have to really mentally kind of, because there's so much. I had to think about it. I've never been asked that. What am I good at?
Right.
So it was very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Very hard to say, oh, I'm good at this, or I'm good at that, or well, I'm really good at that. Oh, yeah, and that time I did that, it wasn't coming to me because the clutter was just here. All of the negative self-talk, all the stuff that I went through to get to that office, and even going to that office, I felt like, honestly, this is the truth, and I've said this before, I felt like I was, if you get arrested and they put you like in the, like you got to go through it, not that you know that you've been arrested, but you know what I'm saying? I felt like it was that kind of like, line up next,
right?
like, okay, we get ready next. It just felt very mechanical and very cold. And so it was.
I got to stop you for 1 second there because of what you just said. It felt mechanical and cold. Think about though, when those things happen, it makes you come out of the mechanical, right? Because we live our day-to-day lives sometimes mechanically until we start to do the work. Right. So talk about how significant that even is, to break from that way of thinking and that way of doing and that way of being on a regular basis.
Yeah, that process was a lot of prayer. Prayer is my business strategy now. A lot of prayer, because I had to really unpack a lot of things. And again, the work that I've done with you guys and Women Empowered, that was very catalyst to kind of unpacking some of that and being able to, go on a job interview and say, are they a good fit for me?
Yeah.
No, I don't think this is going to work.
Yeah.
Being able to, so that goes back to vision then. So when I was coming out of all of that, I mean, it took that awakening of like, this feels really like, what kind of job am I going to have next? I was kind of in a place where I could see some things happening. What am I going to do next? Where am I going to be starting over? I got kids that are going to college in a few years.
That's right.
So a lot of prayer. And also, I want to also talk about vision again, because vision is tied to, the things that you're good at. But we don't sit down and think about those things that you're passionate about. So the one thing that came up for me is I love to organize. That was all I could get at that workshop. I love to organize. And so I was like, okay, I love to organize. And then I went home with that. And then a friend called me and said, can you help me organize my space? Because I want to do some stuff. And so I sat down with that vision thing. And I had VISION. Did I spell that right? and I identified, that's when the acronym came. So how am I gonna? I said this could be a business, because then they were talking about, oh, maybe you're gonna be a business owner. They're saying all these things that were never in my world. But I sat down. I remember I was on my front porch and I was kind of like, okay, so she wants me to come over and almost be my first client.
Yeah.
So I started writing out this little plan. Okay, let me see how I'm gonna intake sheet. How am I gonna, assess what she might need?
That's right.
And so that is really like the kickoff point. And I held on to that. I held on for that note paper up until 2018. That was, I want to say, as far as time, that was probably 6 or 7 years or so. Hi, can I say hi? Hi, Crystal.
Of course.
Yeah. Hello, ladies.
Hi, Crystal. And so when it came time to write this book, so let me back up. So before the book was written, I started doing workshops. I created 3 8-week workshops after I was working on my coaching certification. So y'all were part of that too, I believe.
Mhm.
And shout out to these ladies. Um,
And I have to keep stopping you because I want people to look at the significance even in that, right? You started doing, right, before you even got to where you really wanted to be, before the
Right.
vision was even fully complete, right? So for you
Right.
to put those workshops together before everything was even laid out, kudos to you on that. I just wanted people to get that part.
And another thing I want to kind of stop there too is so many of us, we look at being fired or being laid off or being let go, however you want to call it, as such a negative. And most of the time, it's the best thing that ever happened to us.
It's a
It's a
free.
setup.
It is a free,
It's
right?
it's the best thing because we would stay there 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years and not have realized. And I love that you were able to identify, and I had the same experience when people asked, mine was, what makes you happy? And I was like, I don't know. Nobody never asked me that question. You know what I'm saying? You don't even know about yourself. And that's why we all talk about, and like you said, as we went through our discovery years together, we all learned to identify who we are. So these significant moments in your life, if you're out there and you're going through one of these moments, count it all joy because it is your opportunity.
Yeah.
She's talking about her life started. My life started after I got fired. These are things that will let your life really come together if you let it.
And you're absolutely right about that. And I think obstacles will come, right? We have obstacles, we have setbacks. Those things do come. And I think what the Cost of Clutter is about is really trying to help us continue to find our way. And so vision is critical. So I use vision just about for everything. And that's part of my model. I had last night, I was with a group and I said, it's like one of those things. Well, where do we start? Everybody, that's a big question. Where do I start? People who are overwhelmed with life, overwhelmed with their house, overwhelmed with their closet. And so I say, assign vision to your pocketbook, your backpack, whatever. You start there. Really, people, yeah. So you know why I said that? Because when I got fired, the first thing I did is I went to clean my closet and I cleaned out my purse. And I went through my purse and I was like, okay, going through it. It was messy. It was this and that. It was filled, with how I carried it before that day. And I started, like, I don't need this. I don't need that. I started creating an organized bag, right? Because I was going to start doing these, things at the labor department. Wanted to be ready. The other thing was the closet. The closet, I talk about the closet in the book metaphorically, and I also talk about it as a physical space. Metaphorically, your closets represent who you are. That's how you show up. When you open up your closet, that's you showing up with whatever's in there, right? But when it's disorganized, it's really just about where are you at? Like even some of the clients that I've worked with, one in particular, yes, your house is this way because you just went through breast cancer. She's a breast cancer survivor. And I was like, and so she brought me in to kind of say, I want my house back. And so you have to, and a lot of people will say, well, what's going, it's a mess. It's this, that. I said, well, what's going on for you right now? So we have to start small. My biggest thing is always starting small. And the closets, cleaning out a closet, it does more than just organize your clothes by color, by season, or by whatever, however you do it. Because I believe in all those different ways. I will help you do that. I've helped people do that. But also, what it showed me is that when COVID hit, we have to be willing to make those adjustments when necessary. So that we're showing up in a way that represents where we are and also where we're going. Right. And so part of that is letting go of the past. So that's why we donate, get rid of things for different reasons. I'm not going to always be wearing this top. Well, I like it. It's a nice color. I'm going to wear it for but I promise you, I've thought differently about what I wear. And I go through my closet regularly. And the closet is really kind of that place where, and also this, I want to say this too, because research shows when you clean out any spaces in your house, it changes your mood. It elevates you, And
I have to say this every time I walk in my closet. Before I moved to the house that I'm in, my closet was a mess. I have to be honest, and that's not the way I like things. So when I moved to this house, I threw away more stuff and I organized my closet. I love my closet. Every time I walk in my closet, I feel so good. I feel so good when I walk in there.
And I know for so many people, the closet is a place of anxiety.
Yes.
The closet is a place of, like you said, confusion,
Yes.
disorganization, and it really does depict their state of mind or their season.
Right.
And I remember when I had to clean out my laundry room. And I remember I had to invite, to your point, I had to invite help to clean it out. And in the middle of it, I broke down in tears because it was an example of how I was feeling.
Yeah.
Just the anxiety of it all. And it was so much junk and it was embarrassing. It was a whole lot of things to me. And a lot of emotions came out of that. So to your point, when I cleaned that out, I felt like a different person.
Yeah.
And if you're, if the people out there, I know some of y'all got real nervous when she said to start at your in your pocketbook and in your closet. Don't worry, you can get the book, and she's gonna show you how to get through it. So don't get nervous yet.
Definitely don't be nervous, because here's the other thing, Dr. Melissa, is that my method is about lifestyle.
Yes.
So we can say this is January, and we do this. We know, we were talking about it. It's like January is the kickoff for the resolutions. It's the goal setting. We go into the gym. We're going to go all to do these things. Right. And I thought about that as I said, that speaks to those societal norms that we just carry with us. Right. Absolutely. And it's another form of clutter. Because honestly, before I started doing this work, I would be that person to be like, okay, end of the year, I'm going to do something like, it's just, no. Monica, you are not going to start losing weight when you haven't even walked out the door like all of last year. What makes you think you're going to start this year? Yeah, like it just doesn't work that way. And so the other thing is, what I want to say to you, and I said it at the top, is that the importance of doing it at the beginning of the year or any season, because it could be, your season might be June. Your season might be like the last quarter of the year or the beginning of the year. It might be in February for some reason, whatever might be going on in your life. So I don't like to put a timestamp on it, but let's talk about why the beginning of the year is good. And I'm going to tell you 3 things. If we're not going to look at the closet or the pocketbook, let's pick these up. Our phone. And I'm talking about the contacts.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the contacts. We're going to talk about contacts.
Wait.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I want you to hold on to that, because we're going to take a quick commercial break. I want people to think about that, because this is probably more significant than even the closet at this point, right? Because
yes, Tracy.
So much. So I want you to get into that when we come back. Everybody, I know you're in suspense. You want to hear what she has to say. So don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and talk about how to declutter this baby. We are back,
Woo.
everyone, and we are here with declutter coach herself, Monica Jenkins. She is the author of The Cost of Clutter. So you want to make sure that you look into this. I know there's some things that you need to declutter. We all do. You want to get this book. You can get it right here. You can see the website across the screen, www.thecostofclutter.com/the book. So make sure that you go get your book today. And we're going to bring Monica back in because we left off talking about decluttering. So let's get into it, Monica. Talk to us about how to declutter these phones.
So yeah, so at the beginning of the year, if we're going to talk about doing some work, the phones, look at those contacts. So one of the things I talk about in really the first step in my step is value, and your contacts. You need to look through those contacts, and you need to look and see who's there, really. And I come from a place of someone who adds value to your life, right? The value is the first step, but it's adding value. It's adding to your life. It's multiplying, and it's truth tellers. Those are the people that are in my, those are the ones that's the kind of the bar right there. And then of course you might have, your work colleagues that you work with and things like that for certain things like that. But I promise you need to go through there and take the time to do that. Because if you have a lot of contacts, it's going to take a minute. That's right. Thank you, Nick. Not everyone needs access to you.
Exactly.
That's right there. Right there.
Your phone does, from a technical standpoint, your phone allows you to compartmentalize those valued people. You may not want to read every single text that comes through, but you have a favorite list, and there's 6 or 8 people up there. I do. I know out there. As soon as I go into my messages, they're at the top, and that's great for me because I need to respond to them because of their value. Respond to them as immediately as I can. It's helpful to know not only that information, but to have the tools to do it, to keep you on track, because sometimes we do forget.
Yeah. And I agree, Coach Shima. I agree with that. And what I would add to that is oftentimes, and this comes from difficult situations, right? You have difficult situations, you have difficult relationships. You have and I think sometimes it's not going to be hard for us to do because you know who your Fab Five are, right? You know who they are. But I think it's the others that are in there that are holding space in your phone, right? And that's clutter. That's just a form of clutter. Like if you don't need that, you need room to be able to find, Amy or Steve or John, because they are aligned to your vision. And that's the other point I want to make. So most of the people, and this isn't family and friends, we can talk about that. But the other contacts that are in there, right? I'm like, it aligns with my vision. Yep, my vision. And that's my personal professional vision. Yep. Okay, we're keeping her. Joe, Sue. Yep. Y'all stay. Nope. Nope. And nope. And nope. Haven't talked to you maybe in a year. Haven't talked to you in 6 months. Haven't talked to you at all. You're not responsive. Whatever the case may be. So I think that is critical when it comes to the phone. So spend that time. Spend that time, because I tell you, that's something I do every year, and I actually do it every probably 6 months just to double check.
That's good. I remember going through, because to your point, I had people listed in my favorites. I had people listed in my phone, and it was an emotional talk about declutter. It was an emotional tie. What they call that a spiritual stronghold. They wanted to talk about it. So I remember finally deleting certain people out of, especially in my favorites. And I had kept them in my favorites, and every time I saw them, there was an emotional tug at my heart. And I wasn't even aware of it until the wisdom came to remove them from the favorites, and the emotional toll it took. And when I got it out, I felt the release. And it is really true, because I think our phones have become this source of information, but it's your life almost, because these are the important people for you, right? How you connect with them, how you keep in touch with them. And if you have those breakdowns in those relationships, when you move them out, you do feel that kind of declutter happening. Like, okay, they're gone now. And I really attest to that. I love that piece.
Yeah, that is that, and you have peace. You feel the peace because also the whole idea around the book and the cost of clutter is that we have peace, we are able to get direction, and that we're having
Mhm.
clarity. Like it's important. And so I saw, I think it was Nick had asked, should I delete the messages? It went up, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing that and I said, yeah, I don't need all. We save all the messages, we save all of that. And I know a lot of us are doing business on our phones, but think about how you're using your phone. Maybe emails are better. Maybe that person needs to be communicating by email. It's
So
whatever,
true.
it's whatever,
That makes
your
That's
emails
another
are different, but we're going to get
yeah.
to that. We're going to get to that. So that's the phone or the contacts, I should say. We're going to go there. And then the other is our calendars.
Mm-hmm.
Our calendars. We need to declutter our calendars. And this is why in the book, I have a section. It's just called How a Planner Saved My Life. And this is why, if I have a moment to tell this quick story, is in this great job. This is recently, great job. New job, just started it. Like it was stretching me, but in a good way.
Hmm.
Right? Stretching me in a good way. I was like, okay. I mean, I felt like I was in a master's program. I was like, oh my God, I was excited, and got my little planner because I love a planner. And I'm already, I'm going to school, got my notes, I'm gonna do all this. I knew there was a lot of training, there was a lot of systems, it was a lot of things, right? So then I started getting stressed. So I'm writing in my book, getting really a little stressed about all of the things. But this is, I'm being stretched. It's okay. I take a bus for part of my commute, and I'm looking through my planner and I'm seeing all of this stuff. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm like going home, looking at all the stuff. I'm like going home. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get that. I gotta ask her. So I'm now found myself already have it's already a 12-hour day by the time I get home.
Wow.
And I'm like thinking about tomorrow. And something hit me and said, don't do that. Don't do that. I don't know why, but I still was doing it. But I saw some pages in this planner that I didn't see before that were prompting me about personal things. Like, what do you want to happen for this year? It's in the front of the planner for the January, right? What do you want to happen for this year? Where do you want to go? It was all these little things that were like, oh, I never seen that before. And so I started answering them. And in that moment, I'm like, this is going to be from me. I got to work. I said, okay, they provide me with a computer that has access to, you got Outlook, you got your little task pad, you got you get note taking, all of that. You got, yeah. So in that moment, I began to look at, okay, I'm plotting out my vacation, my PTO. I'm plotting out, there were things that I wanted to do specifically. I had a vision for my family life. I wanted to make sure I had time with my adult children because I have adult children now. I wanted to spend time with them. So these are just examples. My husband, date nights, things like that. And I wanted them in the calendar already.
That's right.
And so work stuff was on the work computer that they provide.
Mm-hmm.
This was for me. And every day I look at it. Every day I would look at it going to work. Remember what you got coming up this week?
yeah.
Oh, even though it's going to be a stressful day at work, I'm getting ready to go to Martha's Vineyard or whatever. So that was critical. And I had to also train my husband about that. So we could be like, we had to talk about that. I said, hon, I need you to, at the beginning of the year, like we got to plot out what days we taking off. And this is something else we do. We get vacation, PTO, whatever they call it. And I'll use my husband for an example because he'll let me. You're taking your doctor's appointments. You went to see the eye doctor, the ear doctor, the nose doctor, your physical, and got your hair cut. And so I'm like, well, we ain't gonna be able to do nothing when you're using your schedule and your vacation for all of your time off. No, we
Coach
don't do
Monica,
that
I
anymore.
have already mastered that part.
Yeah, right.
I have already mastered that, and my PTO never goes to those things.
I'm Shima.
That's right.
Gold star. Because, but you know what? Even to the defense of my husband, I used to do the same thing, right? So here's the other thing. Back I don't know where I am in age with y'all, but I remember when I started working as a younger employee in my 20s, they would say stuff like, "Oh, I'm gonna take a mental health day," and we knew that meant that we gonna call out sick, and we're not sick. That's what that meant, right?
Right.
And so I said, "Well, look at us now.
Now we
We
need
didn't even realize back then the value of taking a break
Mm-hmm.
because we had to lie about it.
now we need it.
And now we need it. Clutter,
Mhm.
clutter.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Joked about that all the time. Oh, I'm gonna take mental health day. Yeah, me too. But all on the down low and afraid. Like,
Exactly.
we're not doing that anymore. So
No.
decluttering our calendar is making sure that you're making time for you, your family, whatever your vision is for what you need to be doing outside of your 9 to 5 or however your schedule is. Very important to start the year at looking at that. Very important if you can. Last year, we started talking about what we wanted to do this year and made sure that it was on calendars and things. Still doing that, but very important. So make sure we're looking at those calendars at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
It
and
was
you know,
part of the,
I'm sorry.
No, just let me mention really, really quickly, Dr. Melissa. This is just the calendar. There, I just saw this on social media, and I think I'm gonna get one, even though I'm a little late for this year because it's already January. But there's a calendar called the Big Ass Calendar, and it's big. You put it on your wall, and it's
Yes.
every day in the year, and you can just go ahead and plan everything out and have it right on your wall. It's amazing. So
Oh, I love that.
that thing.
Me
But go
too.
ahead, Dr. Melissa. I just wanted to mention that.
Oh
No,
yeah,
I
but
love
even on the calendar, one of the things I learned a couple of years ago, um, when I first retired, was I didn't like I had started like filling up my calendar and let me do this, let me do that, and somebody said, "Well, when are we enjoying ourselves? When to your point, when are we having fun?" And now my calendar has 2 days that's not that I can't. Nobody can put appointments on those days. They can't. That's
Absolutely.
my days.
Mhm.
That's and I call it my mental health days. And I do whatever I want.
Right.
And I had to learn. Like I remember we was sitting. I said, "Come on, this is our day. Let's go somewhere. Let's do something."
Yeah.
And to that point, using those days to enjoy ourselves, to have that
Absolutely.
fun,
Yeah.
to do that thing that we maybe wouldn't do because we're so busy. And I
Right.
think that's another piece of the declutter where we're so cluttered with work and with this and that that our calendars are now so full. Fun doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we always wait, save fun for the weekends. What about during the week? What about,
Right.
get ourselves some midweek joy or something
Mhm.
like that so that we can really experience life and not just kind of run through it.
I love that. And that's exactly um, the cost of clutter when we don't do that,
Yes.
right? And so we have to begin to unpack those moments for ourselves and find them. The other thing that I would say is your commitments. Now, this goes back to vision, right? So you have a vision that I'm going to do A, B, and C. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I started a business. I want to start a business. I want to teach that dance class, and I also want to be a coach to um, someone, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
coaching someone, right? So you have those three things, and it's like, and then you're going to help Sue over here, and Dave over here, and there, and there, and there, and the next thing you know, you're all over here.
Right.
We have to declutter our commitment so that our vision is really actualized for us.
Mhm.
And I have to tell you a beautiful story how that came for me when I made that decision many years ago. Um, I started to sit down. I was like, what do you really want to do? Like we were having those questions again. It's part of like our coaching and part of our the work we did in Women in Power. Like a lot of those questions I re-asked myself, and some of them that I couldn't answer at the time when I'm trying to do that deep work. I'm like, well, nobody ever asked me that. I don't know. And I felt kind of like,
Inadequate.
never on somebody else's paper kind of a thing. But so got to the point where I got comfortable enough and started asking me myself, like, what do you really want to do? Now I love to dance. I like to say I'm a closet dancer. I took dance in undergrad. And as an adult student, I'm a non-traditional student, and I've always loved dance. And I talk about a little bit about that in my book, how because we moved around so much, I grew up in 4 states and one island, went to 7 schools before I graduated high school, that I never was in things as much, but
Mm-hmm.
dance was something I really loved and I wanted. So I started dancing in the church, liturgical dance, and then I do some other stuff, some modern dance stuff in connection with what I was doing in school. And so I wrote that down. I said, I want to dance more, you
Yeah.
know, and so as soon as I start putting those intentions down, started saying no to other things. I had some other things too. I get a something on Facebook about a calling all creatives. we want to bring some creatives together. And we just gonna move and we're gonna dance. We're gonna do this and that. And it was like an hour from my town, and I was like, look at that. Yes,
I could do that.
Yes. Once you
Yes,
start
I'm going
moving
to
stuff out of the way, that's right.
Right.
And I tell you, in this past year, went to 2 dance retreats.
Nice.
So
Love it.
that brings me some joy. That's what dance is one of my love languages. And
Girl,
so
high five, mine too. Go whoop, whoop.
yeah. So I feel like when we think about our commitments, let's start thinking about what we're doing, what we can, what we can handle, because there's this thing of balance that we try to do, and it's hard to. I remember being on a call with a coach. Coaches got to get coached, and she said sometimes more than 3 things is going to be hard. If you do 3 hard projects and you're trying to do other things, and this is going to be hard to make, because something's going to fall. You might drop a ball. So
Exactly.
I encourage us to look at our commitments for this year and see if that's really the direction you want to go. So if you've been serving over here doing something like for the last 3-5 years, is maybe it's time for somebody else to sit at the table and it's your time to exit the table. Or maybe there's some tables you need to be at that you've been missing because you've been doing this or that. And I found that out for myself. So I had to sit down and I said, these are my passions. These are the things. And I'm going to those things that align with that.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I
I
love
love
it.
that everything that you talked about moving out of your way made way for something else, but it made you establish a tool, like a
Yeah.
boundary or a goal, or you had to do something with all of this space that you cleaned up. You can't just
Yeah.
have it. What are you gonna do with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I like how
And I
that.
also will say about cleaning out space, sometimes you don't need to put anything in it.
That's so good right there.
Yeah, 'cause that's the kitchen cabinet story.
Yeah.
I just want to see the blank walls sometimes. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's the kitchen cabinet story, because think about, true story, kitchen cabinet, and this is my story I'll tell, is that I had it on a goal for the first quarter of, this was about 2 years ago. First quarter, I said, I want to clean out my kitchen cabinets. Lived here so long, I don't think I've done that. I said, I need to do that. I do other parts, but I never deep cleaned the kitchen cabinets. So I did. It took me a month. I said, how are you going to do that, Monica? You're not going to pull everything out like we do sometimes with the closet. That would have been too much. So I said, okay, start small. So every time I'm in the kitchen, which is at least 3 times a day, I started pulling things out. And then I said, okay, I have hired a housekeeper, because you know what? I'm not buying all them clothes anymore and shoes. So every now and then I call in a housekeeper, seasonally.
Yes,
Have
yes.
those kind of things, because let's be realistic. Like, I mean, I want to go on a trip. I want to do things, and some things need to get done. I mean, me and my husband, well, whatever. So it's one of those things. I'm not recommending that to nobody, but that's just my story that I decided to do that. I mean, go ahead if you want to, because it'll help you. But I took all this stuff out the closet and I called her up and I said, can you just come and help me with the cabinets and the refrigerator? Like, I'm gonna take everything out, but I just want them nicely cleaned and all that. Y'all.
And you got to breathe. You got to breathe.
I came home.
The help.
I called my husband. I said, I think she installed new cabinets. They were so pristine. I have white cabinets. They were so pristine. The refrigerator looked brand new. Like when you get a brand new refrigerator. So what I learned from that, when I was decluttering, I realized what we don't eat, because there was a ton of stuff in there. There was a lot of stuff. We save money now because we know the things that we use.
That's right.
Right? And so guess what?
Monica, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No. I'm sorry to cut you off. We have to end the show. So I want to tell people how they get in touch with you. And we're doing part 2 on the Whole Living Show tomorrow, everybody. So just join us there. You want to hear more from Monica, join us on the Whole Living Show tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. But I want people to know how they get in touch with you for your services.
Absolutely. So the costofclutter.com is my website. And on that website, yes, you can buy the book, but also you can see there's a tab for coaching services. And if you want a complimentary conversation with me, you'll see some of my services. Please fill out the form, and that's how you can connect. Yes. So www.thecostofclutter. Yep, that's it right there on the screen, thecostofclutter.com. And I'm happy
happy to connect.
We love it. Thank you for being here.
So
This is
awesome.
great.
Awesome.
For taking away. We just want to let everybody also know that we are starting a segment here called Ask Fem Talk. So if you need some inspiration, some insights, some opinions here from the ladies of Fem Talk, please send us your questions and we will address them on the live show. Ask Fem Talk at Fem Talk TV.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody, we thank you for being here. We will see you next Tuesday evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We love you, Monica. Thank you for joining us. And again, watch part 2 on The Whole Living Show tomorrow evening.